there, very good evening and a warm welcome to the news live on Rupavahini Channel I. I'm Shram Mascrinias.
A very good evening. I am Lakshita Singha, and to start off, we take a quick look at the top stories for tonight. The 41-day quarantine curfew will ease tomorrow. The new health guidelines will be effective from tomorrow. Public gatherings, outdoor ceremonies and parties are prohibited. Interprovincial travel restrictions will remain in effect. Non-essential travels will be prohibited from 10 p.m. till 4 a.m. next day. Purchasing of green gram harvests in Hambantota zone commences.
On to the stories in detail now, starting off with local news. The quarantine curfew imposed across the country will be lifted at 4 a.m. tomorrow. The Ministry of Health issued the new health guidelines effective from tomorrow in a bid to reopen the country gradually. The island-wide quarantine curfew was initially imposed on August 20th from 10 p.m. onwards. Accordingly, the quarantine curfew will be released after a period of 41 days. The Ministry of Health has issued the new health guidelines effective from tomorrow in an effort to reopen the country gradually. According to the guidelines, interprovincial travel restrictions are to continue with exemptions from essential activities. All non-essential travel is not permitted from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. daily as per the Health Ministry. The health guidelines have further indicated that the public transport should preferably be non-air conditioned and windows should be opened. Only seated passengers will be allowed in public transport. It is also a must to wear masks properly during travel as per the new guidelines. The Health Ministry has requested the institutions to encourage work-from-home methodologies for their employees, and all work settings should reduce the number of employees coming to work at a given time. Essential services and industries are exempted and others should function with minimum required numbers as decided by the head of the institute. According to the new guidelines, all public gatherings are not allowed until further notice. The Health Ministry has said that physical official meetings, including workshops and conferences, can be organized with a maximum of 25% of the available capacity, not exceeding 25 persons. After October 16th, such events can be organized with a maximum of 25% of the available capacity, not exceeding 50 persons. Ministry of Health has said that all indoor and outdoor ceremonies, parties and gatherings are not allowed until further notice. Permission will be granted to reopen economic centres for wholesale trading purposes, and open markets and weekly fairs can be held under the supervision of the medical health officers. Under the new guidelines, supermarkets, pharmacies, groceries and shops will be allowed to accommodate up to 10% of the available capacity at a time. However, the limit will be increased up to 20% after October 16th. Dining at restaurants will not be permitted, but the restrictions will be eased after October 16th, allowing dine-ins with a maximum of 30% of the available capacity, not exceeding 50 persons. Activities related to agriculture and plantations are permitted under the new guidelines. Financial institutions have also been permitted to reopen, but should be restricted to 5 persons inside the premises at a given time. The institutes should be function with a minimum required number of staff. Mobile vendors are permitted to proceed with trading activities under the supervision of local authorities and area medical health officers. Salons and barbershops are permitted to operate on appointment basis. According to the Ministry of Health, permission has also been granted to reopen daycare centres, and preschools can function with a maximum of 50% of attending students. Higher education centres, including universities, are permitted to function as per the new health guidelines. Vocational training institutes have been permitted to function at a maximum of 50% of the capacity at any given time. Cinemas and theatres are not permitted to resume operations under the new guidelines. Walking paths and beaches will be reopened for the public. Gymnasiums are permitted to be open for a maximum of 5 persons at any given time. The gymnasiums will be permitted to open with a maximum of 30% of the available capacity, not exceeding 10 persons after October 16th. Conducting of outdoor wedding ceremonies will be encouraged, and the registration of marriages can be organized with a maximum of 10 persons. The use of alcohol will be prohibited. After October 16th, the wedding can be held with a maximum of 25% of the usual capacity, not exceeding 50 persons. Funerals of non-COVID-19 related deaths have to be carried out within a period of 24 hours following the release of the body. The funerals can be organized with 10 persons attending at any given time. The number of attendees can be increased up to 15 after October 16th. Religious gatherings and related activities will be prohibited under the new guidelines. Exhibitions, conferences as well as tuition classes are not permitted to be held according to the Ministry of Health. Conducting of examinations is permitted with strict adherence to issued guidelines. Sports and games can be categorized based on the risk factors associated in each event, and the sports and games have been categorized under two categories as low risk and medium risk. The complete categorization and guidelines in this regard can be obtained by accessing www.health.gov.lk. The Health Ministry has emphasized that legal action can be taken against individuals or organizations for failing to adhere to the newly issued health guidelines. Meanwhile, Minister Kelia Rupavahini says steps will be taken to further ease the restrictions imposed through the new health guidelines after considering the situation in a period of 2 weeks. He made these remarks while speaking at a media briefing today. Minister Kelia Rupavahini said that the government was able to implement various decisions during the past weeks in an attempt to mitigate the spread of the COVID-19 outbreak. He said that all restrictions imposed through this move will be limited to 2 weeks. He added that steps will be taken to further ease the restrictions imposed through the new health guidelines after considering the situation in a period of 2 weeks, as well as methodologies initiated to control the prevailing level of outbreak. The minister said that the government is expecting to ease certain restrictions after 2 weeks. He further said that steps will be taken to impose a night curfew from 10 p.m. to next day 4 a.m. and therefore he requested the public to limit their movement only for essential purposes.
In the meantime, State Minister Dilum Amunugama says that the international public transport services will not function for a period of 2 weeks despite the easing of quarantine curfew. Also, the minister said that the train services will not be operated for 2 weeks as well. State Minister Dilum Amunugama said that interprovincial public transport services will not be operated. Also, he added that necessary instructions have been given to suspend the railway services as well. He pointed out that such decision was reached considering the high risks prevailing in the rapid spread of the virus in public transport. He added that steps will be taken to deploy state and private buses for transportation purposes in each province, while additional bus services will be deployed to provinces such as Western Province to accommodate passengers who travel on a daily basis for work purposes. However, the State Minister said that the buses should operate in accordance to the available seating capacities. He further said that instructions have been given to apprehend buses failing to adhere to these guidelines. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka Transport Board has said that a fleet of 5,500 buses will be deployed for intra-provincial services from tomorrow. Department of Motor Traffic has indicated that the services provided from Werahera and Narahempita branches of the department temporarily suspended due to the COVID-19 outbreak will resume tomorrow. Also, the Motor Traffic Department has said that an appointment should be reserved by dialing 011 677 877 number in order to obtain relevant services. Meanwhile, the Department for Registration of Persons has said that the main office and all provincial branches will reopen from next Monday to provide necessary services. However, the department has informed that the one-day service to issue national identity cards has been temporarily suspended. A total of 734 COVID-19 patients were identified from the country today. Accordingly, the number of active cases in the country has increased up to 46,805. A total of 631 recoveries were reported today, increasing the total recoveries to 457,488. The Director General of Health Services confirmed 59 COVID-19 related deaths which were reported yesterday. Meanwhile, a consignment of 408,650 Pfizer vaccine doses, which was donated under the COVAX facility of the World Health Organization, arrived in the country this morning. State Minister Professor Channa Jayasumana mentioned that another similar consignment of Pfizer vaccines will arrive in the country tomorrow. Vaccination programs for children between the ages of 12 and 19 with special needs and other complications were held in Western Province and Kurunegala and Anuradhapura districts today under the COVID-19 immunization program. Vaccination for persons between the ages of 20 and 29 is currently underway in various centres island-wide as well. A total of 26,233,218 vaccine doses have been inoculated under the COVID-19 immunization program thus far. A total of 14,502,913 persons have received the first dose of the vaccine, while 11,730,305 have received both doses thus far.
Deputy Director General of Health Services Dr. Hemantha Herath says that the public should continue to adhere to COVID-19 guidelines despite the ease of restrictions and high vaccination rates in the country. He made these remarks while addressing a media briefing today.
Current travel restrictions would be removed from tomorrow onward. We would like to urge the public that lifting the restriction does not in any way mean that everything will be normal and we can move freely around the country just like we used to be for this pandemic. We have to take the responsibility into our hand even after the opening of the country, and every citizen in this country need to adhere to the health guideline to the best of their ability so that the risk of spreading the disease will be minimized. We know that the vaccination is one weapon that we have been using against this common enemy. However, we cannot rely 100% on one weapon or one strategy. The vaccination gives you some protection and it will prevent or reduce the risk of dying of COVID-19 infection or getting into complication. However, it will not totally protect you from getting infected. Therefore, it is very important to get the vaccination for your own protection and adhering to the health guidelines to the letter so that you are not going to get the infection and thereby you are not going to spread the disease also. And for which we know that vaccination will help because with the vaccination what we expect is to boost your immunity, and with the strengthened immunity in your body the likelihood of complications is minimized and the likelihood of dying from COVID will be minimized. At the same time, because of high immunity, the level of virus load within your body will be restricted, and as a result the likelihood of spreading the disease also will be minimized, but this will not 100% protect or prevent the acquiring of the disease. So therefore, it is again very important to adhere to the health guidelines and protect yourself from acquiring the disease.
President of the Sri Lanka Medical Association, Dr. Padma Gunaratna, points out the importance in reopening the country under several phases after the quarantine curfew is lifted. She made these remarks while speaking at a media briefing yesterday.
Up to now, we have gone through this COVID curfew for 6 weeks. Now it's the time for the government to decide how they would continue with the implementation of the mobility restrictions. So to facilitate that decision, we, the expert committee of COVID of the Sri Lanka Medical Association, develop an exit strategy for this wave. Previously we developed a document and released, but we prepared another document for this wave, giving important steps that one could adopt when opening the country. As an organization, what we recommend is we should never open the country all at once, but the opening of the country has to be restrained, phased, scientifically determined and well monitored relaxation. So, and then when it is being implemented, our health structure is so strong. We have the public health officers posted right around the country and in regional level, district level, so that it is easy for the Ministry of Health to collect data, up-to-date data with regard to the number of cases, number of deaths, as well as the capacity for treatment in that province. So the decisions could be made and then they could be implemented at provincial and district levels by making use of these public health doctors. And it's important, we as the Sri Lanka Medical Association feel that it's important to strengthen these sectors and to provide them with the adequate resources for them to function efficiently. So that would include the facilities to adequate number of testing and also for case surveillance. I mean the random checks whenever that the patients come to a OPD, that they should be able to randomly select number of patients and then to detect cases, because that very stringent monitoring is a must if we are to determine or if we are to detect for the earliest detection of another appearance of another wave. While we emphasizing the importance of the monitoring by district and provincial level, we feel that the implementation of these systems could be made by the regional levels as well.
And in more local stories, Sri Lanka Ports Authority signed the agreement for the construction of the West Terminal of the Colombo port today. The relevant agreement was signed by the foreign investor India's Adani Group with its local partner John Keells Holdings. This is considered as the largest investment to be carried out in Sri Lanka's ports sector. Representing Sri Lanka Ports Authority, its chairman Captain Nihal Kappatipolo and managing director Upul Jayatissa signed the agreement. Representing Adani Ports and Special Economic Zone Limited, its chairman Sandeep Mehta signed the agreement. Chairman of John Keells Holdings, Krishan Balendra, also signed the agreement. The investment on the construction of the Colombo West International Container Terminal will be over $700 million. The relevant agreement has been signed as a build, operate, transfer agreement basis for a period of 35 years. Following the construction of this terminal, the annual container operations of the Colombo port will be increased by 3 million. With this agreement, the Colombo port will undergo a massive development and the brand of the Colombo port as an international port will be further enhanced and promoted. Sri Lanka Ports Authority said that this initiative will further improve the regional cooperation. In addition, the strength as well as the trust of the trade and shipping sector will be further heightened. Sri Lanka Ports Authority further said that the national economy of the country will be further strengthened with this investment. Minister Rohita Abegunawardena, Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka Gopal Bagle, and Secretary to the Ports and Shipping Ministry UDC Jayalal were present at this occasion. Sri Lanka's High Commissioner to India Milinda Moragoda also participated in the event via online video technology.
The government has decided to purchase the green gram harvest in the Hambantota and Kirinduoya agri-region through Lanka Satosa. Harvesting of green gram was commenced from Tissamarama yesterday. Sri Lanka's annual requirement of green gram is around 23,000 metric tons. The policy of the government is to cultivate all the crops that can be cultivated in Sri Lanka, reducing agri-imports. Under this program, the Ministry of Agriculture commences a special program to fulfill 50% of the total necessity of green gram in the country through local cultivations. Therefore, farmers in Tassamarama, Lunugamvera, Suryaveva and Kirinduoya agri-regions cultivated green gram in farmlands of 1,360 acres. Expected harvest is 3 million kilos of green gram. However, private vendors started to purchase green gram under a low price scheme of 300 rupees per kilogram of green gram. However, in the market price of green gram is around 800 rupees. Farmers complained the government authorities about the injustice they faced during the purchase of the harvest by private vendors. After examining those complaints, Minister Chama Rajapaksa and Mahindananda Alutgamage initiated a green gram purchase scheme by the government. Under the scheme, 20,000 kilograms of green gram were purchased at the government storage complex at Veeravilla under a certified price of 525 rupees per kilogram of green gram. Farmers expressed their gratitude to the government for initiating the green gram purchasing scheme.
The State Ministry of Women and Children, Primary Education, School Infrastructure and Educational Services launched a special program to commemorate the World Children's Day tomorrow. The media sponsor of the program is Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation. State Minister P.L. Nishant, addressing a press briefing, said that a number of activities have been organized for children under this program.
ලෝක ළමා දින සමරුමට සමගාමීව ශ්‍රී ලංකා රූපවාහිනී සංස්ථාව හෙට දවස පුරා වැඩසටහන් රැසක්.
State Minister P.L. Nishant said that a series of national level programs have been organized in celebration of the World Children's Day under the theme Children Before All. The relevant programs will be held as national and provincial level programs starting from tomorrow until the 31st of October, he added. The State Minister further said that the state media has supported these initiatives and extended his gratitude to the national television for the support given. He said that the national ceremony will telecast from the main studio of the national television. The State Minister mentioned that a separate channel for children will be launched tomorrow under the theme Punchi Ape Perapasala. He further said that new computer centers will be opened in all 379 children's homes in the country tomorrow as well. He added that the Amma Varune program will live telecast on the national television from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation will telecast a number of special programs targeting children to commemorate the World Children's Day tomorrow.
Criminal Investigations Department has commenced an investigation on certain CID officials who conducted their duties irresponsibly and unprofessionally. CID recently informed several journalists to appear its office to record statement over an ongoing investigation. Several editors and journalists were summoned by the CID for this purpose. Police headquarters issued a statement today mentioning that the CID acted in this case violating the regular procedures. The police headquarters further said summoning news editors and journalists is not the regular procedure follows in an investigation. The regular procedure is that the police department requests media organizations to extend their support for investigations, and those institutions extend their support during the previous investigations without any problem. Therefore, the police department expressed its regret to the news editors and journalists for the inconvenience caused by the actions of CID. The statement further said that an investigation already commenced to look into the matter and especially on the behavior of officers who acted irresponsibly during their duties. The police department reiterated that it is always honors the right of expression of people and journalists.
The government has stressed that the national security has been fully ensured. Tri-forces and the police are dedicated for this purpose, the government says. Minister Sarath Weerasekara, addressing a press briefing today, said that the backbone of a country is the national security. Intelligence services issue certain directions on possible threats time to time. The minister said that a Navy officer recently visited several churches and warned of a possible attack after misreading an intelligence directive. The minister further said that the Navy commander summoned the officer responsible for this act and warned him over his action.
ඒක වැඩියට අවබෝධ කරගෙන තමයි මේ පල්ලිවලට ගිහිල්ලා ප්‍රහාරයක් එල්ලුවේ කියලා තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් නමුත් ඒක නාවික සමුදායපතිවරයා ඒ නිලධාරියව ගෙන්නලා අවවාද කරලා ඒක එතනින් ඉවරයි. රටේ ආරක්ෂාව
Army Commander General Shavindra Silva said that the President every week conducts the Security Council meeting and reveals the security situation in the country. Every possible action will be taken to safeguard the people and the country. Rapid actions will be taken if there is a special situation to address.
A police special task force was able to apprehend a revolver and over 1 kilogram of heroin from Matugama Yatalodolavatta area. The relevant raid was conducted last night. Police Special Task Force said that the cache of illegal narcotics were hidden in a two-storied house which is currently under construction in Yatalodolavatta and Radilavatta area. Accordingly, the Special Task Force has apprehended 1.055 kilograms of heroin, 50 grams of ice and a revolver and an electric scale during the raid. The firearm and illegal narcotics have been handed over to the Police Anti-Narcotics Bureau for further investigations. Colombo Crimes Division said that 5 suspects belonging to an organised criminal gang in Jaffna area were taken into custody with sharp weapons. Accordingly, the police have apprehended 4 daggers, 2 swords and a face mask during the raid. The apprehended suspects are at the ages of 20 to 27.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's bulletin. Do join us tomorrow for more of the very latest. Until then, stay safe and good night.